Welcome to another edition of Lighthouse Sea Fishing Tutorials. In this edition of our Sea and Weather Conditions series, we cover watercolor, which is one of the most important factors when it comes to sea fishing. The first aspect we'll discuss will be the link between wave action and watercolor. We'll then talk about how the types of nearby coastline can be a significant factor. After that, we'll discuss currents and the role that they play. We'll also briefly cover how rain can play its part. Finally, we'll take a look at how watercolor affects the fish themselves, as well as the effects on the methods that anglers typically use. So let's first provide a brief explanation of how wave action plays its part. During rough sea conditions, waves carry much more power. This power lifts and carries large amounts of particles from the seabed. The action of large waves crashing down also disperses these particles, magnifying the effect. Large waves also mean that a greater area of the seabed is affected, as the waves that crash down reach the bottom, even in greater depths of water where the seabed would otherwise usually be more stable. These particles that are lifted are what give the water its cloudy consistency. So looking at recent or upcoming wave action conditions can help provide you with a good idea whether water condition will be cloudy or not. If you are confused about how to predict wave action, don't worry, we'll be providing you with a link that goes into further detail about this at the end of the video. So what about the types of coastline? What part do they play? The main type of seabed material that will add color to the water is material that comes from clay or muddy seabeds. This is because particles are fine and readily dissolve in any water more reliably. Water that carries clay will retain its cloudiness longer than all other seabed types. Clay or muddy substrates are typical of estuaries. Fine sand can also provide water with a good amount of color due to the density that it can accumulate to when conditions mix things up enough, but it will typically settle after a period of time. Coarser sand can add color to water, but only in more extreme conditions, and it tends to settle faster. Neither types of sand dissolve in water either, they are simply carried. Finally, we have rocky substrates, which generally don't tend to produce much color to the water. So, when it comes to particles in the water, how does current amplify this? As currents pass along the seabed, they can force particles up into the water. The stronger the current, the more disturbance that will be caused to any sediment. Sometimes sediment may be carried many miles far from the original source that the sediment was taken from. Large tides, such as spring tides, can produce greater movements of current, shifting larger amounts of sediment. Checking the sizes of tide for a session, as well as the direction of tide, can help you predict how cloudy water may be. There are also online tools you can use to check both tidal and color conditions. We have a dedicated video that covers these tools. We'll make sure to provide the link at the end. During times of heavy downpours, rainwater will erode and wash sediment into rivers and off of coastlines. This can cause colored water to flow from estuaries and off of shores around the coast. Again, this sediment may be carried miles by any currents present. So which types of watercolor conditions are best? And how may this affect our methods? Fishing for the majority of species will be better when water conditions are murky. This is because light is less intrusive, even in the day, so the fish come inshore more confidently. Because they can't rely on sight, they will rely more on scent and vibration around them. This means that fish will also tend to feed harder on the bottom of the seabed, as they grub around to feed. This is even true of fish like bass, which are otherwise known as very visual predators. There are a certain small number of species that have more of a reputation for being more exclusively visual in their hunting tactics, such as plaice. Fishing for these species will likely be more effective in clearer conditions. It's these factors which help make targeting a specific species on the day an effective approach. This channel has a whole playlist dedicated to catching specific species. We'll provide links at the end. Taking the previous into account, ledger fishing will likely be the best choice when conditions are murky, as bait will be presented near the seabed. For better scent, be sure to use larger, more scent-filled baits, so fish can find your bait easier. As fish will be feeding harder on the bottom, consider using a rig that presents bait as low as possible. This channel will be including videos that go into further detail about different types of rigs and baits, so be sure to check out the channel page. In terms of methods such as lure fishing, you'll likely find clear water conditions will be favorable for this. If you are going to lure fish in murky water, fishing with lures that have high vibration will likely be your best bet. The channel will also be including a lure fishing playlist, if that's your chosen method. If you would like to know how to predict wave action and use it to your advantage, or you would like to know how to use other weather aspects when fishing, check out the links showing now. The links also include a video which shows you how to use online tools to check water condition in real time. Visit the Lighthouse Sea Fishing Tutorials page by clicking the channel name below the video to find many videos on different species which cover the best conditions for them in greater detail. Thanks again for watching.